sheets here. And I look at all the same.
Well, yeah, she sent in some
You
information that I'll
got some
probably
background.
She's even got her exhibits marked.
I didn't know how else to explain
I
what
think
they
it's
were.
perfect.
I love it. That's my kind of, that's my kind of deal. I love that. Understand. Okay, I'm good. Let's see here. So help me out. I don't remember whose salary and wages we pay and whose we get reimbursed for.
Well, I'll actually, and what I have for y'all that I don't think that I included in my original letter is I have an organizational chart for my office.
Good.
So essentially, in terms of how staffing is done in the district attorney's office, and I know that our budget tends to be a little bit more confusing than the standard county budget because we've got so many different sources of funding. We have 4 classifications of employees. We have straight state paid employees. That means they are classified as a state employee. You will not see anything come through on them whatsoever. They are paid directly by the state. The next classification we have are what is called state paid county reimbursed employees, and we call those spacers. So what happens is they are classified as a state employee, they receive state benefits. The state pays them up front, and that is administered through the Prosecuting Attorney's Council, and they do that for 159 counties across the board. But the state will then send an invoice, and the county reimburses that, okay? Next classification of employees are our grant employees. They're grant paid. Now, normally what happens, these are classified, they're on the county payroll, so they're classified as a county employee. The county pays the money up front, but then the grant reimburses the county for the full amount of their salary. So it essentially, even though it shows in our budget, ultimately ends up being a wash because the county doesn't come out of pocket. Our 4th classification of employees are county employees, and of course they're listed as a county employee, and the sole source of funding is going to be the county funds itself.
Did you split those out, Sandy, that way? You don't?
Yes.
You only have 2. You only have 2 pots, not 3, if I heard you right.
Right, well, we have in the salary and wage line, those are the ones that the county pays.
Those are employees.
That we do not reimburse anybody for,
Those are
that is
employees.
county expense. Then you've got, down below, you've got the reimbursable lines. Those are the ones that are paid back to the state.
The both, 2, the 2 that you mentioned.
So if you actually...
But that's no, that's not true. Half of the reimbursable ones are, not half, whatever, are state paid. Some of them are on our payroll, but
No,
we get reimbursed.
Well,
You said they're on our employees, but we get reimbursed. And I don't
Actually-
see that here.
Well, and actually, if y'all go over to Exhibit C in my explanation, I have it itemized out per employee and what the classification is, and the account title it would actually fall under on the itemized budget. So under the account title for salaries and wages, which would be coming initially out of those county funds classified as county employees, is going to be the 2 supplements that you see at the top, and then the grant reimbursed is Joan Rutledge. So you pay her as a county employee, and then our grant funds completely reimburse Gilmer County. So I've included it in my budget, although technically that amount for her salary.
It's a revenue item that washes it out.
Yes. Now, under the account title that you're going to see, reimbursable salary and wages, those are our spacers. Those are our state paid, county reimbursed employees. And on 3 of those, one being Mr. Bard, one being Mrs. Balkin, and one being Mr. Whitley, you share that 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3 with Pickens and Finn.
As long as the numbers match, total number, but I don't think we break it out that way other places.
Well, historically, I have not done this, but what I wanted to be clear about coming for the county, each one of the county commissioners this year, was for y'all to be able to see exactly who you're paying for and what that overall reimbursable salary or salary and wages column was.
Okay. As long as the totals, are you okay? Okay. Do we show a revenue available in reimbursement?
It's in the non-departmental, it's under Crown Victim, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it is.
We got it over there. We're balanced, I'm good. Thanks.
So could it be associated with this department then?
It could be, I could give it a
Because it's,
department number.
it's not
Not,
non-departmental.
it's very dedicated,
Yeah.
very.
I think for clarity moving forward, it would be a little easier.
I can set it up that way. It's included in the local government shared reimbursements in that non-departmentalized.
Yeah.
Well, share.
Yeah.
That's where we get reimbursed from Fannin, Pickens, and the DA's office, or the crime victims. Right.
Either way, we got the numbers, but it's
Well, I can separate it out if y'all prefer to put it over
question of
on,
what,
show it as a revenue line on
which
the
pocket
budget.
we put it in. Okay, I would prefer it separated out, but
Okay.
that's okay. Since you mentioned Exhibit C, can I ask how firm and what is the deal with 5%?
Well, I will tell you, in terms of what has occurred, typically, the spacers, the state paid county reimbursed individuals, do not qualify for any type of state rates like our straight state employees would be. And what has really came to my attention over the last couple of years is not only attracting quality prosecutors, but being able to retain them. So I'll tell y'all, a couple months ago, I got a telephone call from one of my employees, an assistant district attorney, and he informed me that the public defender's office had contacted him and wanted to hire him to go into their department at a substantially higher rate of pay than I have the ability to pay him. What I found very interesting about that when I went back and I pulled the budget numbers is the public defender's office overall is receiving almost the exact same amount that the district attorney's office is receiving in funding. The difficulty that creates for my office is they are carrying approximately 50% of our caseload. So what happens when a case gets made? If law enforcement writes a citation, takes a warrant, there's a criminal investigation, something needs to be presented to a grand jury. That comes into our office and it goes through intake. We reach out to whatever appropriate agency has made the case and we collect all of the preliminary information. From intake, it goes to investigation. Our investigator goes through every aspect of the case, collects everything that they think that they need, whether it's witness statements, pictures, anything not originally transmitted, and does follow-up investigation. At that point in time, it goes to an ADA, and the assistant district attorney then makes a decision as to what the charges should be, or if any, and then once those charging decisions are made, then something is filed within the court. The public defender's office which really and truly is probably our biggest counterpart in terms of the system. Once they receive that, then they file whatever motions that they deem are necessary. And if they file motions for discovery, what we have historically done in the past is we will compile every bit of discovery that we need to send to them, and we will either make copies for them or we will transmit it electronically. At that point in time, then a priority calendar gets set, and the judge sets it, and typically will set somewhere around 50 cases on a jury priority calendar. My office is responsible for getting ready for all 50. Not 50% of them, we have to prepare on every single one. So what has occurred historically in the past, over the past few years, is we have had a progressive increase in the number of cases that we have had throughout all 3 of our counties. When I pulled the numbers this year and compared them to last year, from January 2017 to September 2017 versus January 2018 to September 2018, in Gilmer County alone, we have had a 20.78% increase in the number of cases that we have opened. If I'm running a business, I would love almost a 21% increase in terms of my business. In terms of prosecuting cases, we are still having to do that under the exact same staffing that we have historically had, and frankly, our resources are getting really, really taxed. So I'll kind of speak to a couple of things at one time. Part of what is included in that budget request is request for an additional administrative assistant. We historically had 3 administrative assistants here in Gilmer County. A couple of years ago, the one administrative assistant position was filled by Susan Keener. And at that point in time, when she left the district attorney's office, we didn't immediately fill that position because we were trying to see if we could do it with 2 admin. It is not possible for us to get everything done that we need to get done. The other issue that I'm having on a real candid basis is it would be very easy for me to hire people straight out of law school, and I could probably get them really, really, really cheap. The problem is you go through the training and the experience, and really the overall question becomes, who do you want trying your murder cases, your rape cases, your armed robbery cases, your trafficking cases? Right now, I have at least 5 people in my office tied up on an immunity motion in the courthouse on a murder case where someone killed someone. That is not a case you want to give to someone straight out of law school. So when the public defender's office is operating in a capacity that they have the ability to offer substantially more funds, it puts me in a position, and not just with the public defender's office, but frankly with private practice all around, that I need to at least give my staff, my trained, experienced staff, some small incentive to be able to stay. So that is really where that number is coming from. I will tell you that I have requested that across the board for my Spacer employees in all 3 of my counties. It would be very much appreciated, and I think helpful in terms of being able to keep who I have and not have to go through the process of retraining them. One of the things that's really kind of, I think, important to know, particularly when you're looking at the budget numbers, is, and I actually have a printout of a PowerPoint presentation, and frankly, it is just a really brief overview of what the district attorney's office does that addresses the courts that we prosecute in. Of course, by law, we are in Superior Court, and that means that in any case where anybody has demanded a jury trial, and on just a certain number of set cases, we handle all of those cases in Superior Court. We also go into magistrate court to do bond hearings, warrant hearings, and bond reviews where people have violated. That is a program that we have tried to set up across the board in each one of our counties. So individuals who are being locked up on bond violations won't continue to stay in jail indefinitely, that we can try to expedite the system and move them on through. We voluntarily opt into probate court. The public defender's office does not. So in addition to the public defender's office budget that you're paying, you're also paying out of pocket for somebody to go into probate court. We also opt into juvenile court, which the public defender's office does not, and that's something additional that you are coming out of pocket for. Now, when I am saying public defender's office, I want to be clear, you are funding the local Appalachian Judicial Circuit's public defender's office. There are more public defenders than just our public defender's office, because if our public defender's office has a conflict, they send it to Atlanta, and then Atlanta itself funds the conflict PDs. So they are handling a small subset.
What constitutes a conflict?
Oftentimes, we're not apprised in terms of what their conflict may be, but let's say
And
for
how
us,
frequent is that?
I would say it's fairly common. Because if you have multiple co-defendants in a case, the public defender's office can only represent one of those defendants. So that would be a good example of how that happens, which is really why over the years, the number of cases that our local PD's office has done, I think, has really gone down as opposed to increasing with the amount of caseload that we're dealing with. Interestingly enough, and I will say this in terms of the numbers, and you can actually see it on Exhibit D. I did a printout just to note the case increase between January 1 and September 1 of 2018. Historically speaking, our case count tracks with population. So Pickens County has historically had the higher case count. Gilmer has been in the middle, and Fannin has hovered somewhere around 25%. Over this past year, Gilmer County opened up 36% of the cases in 2018, and Fannin followed pretty closely with 31%, which is certainly a shift in what we have historically seen.
How do you account for that?
I don't know, and I wish I had a good explanation, because frankly, when I started running the reports, I was really surprised to see that big of a shift. Of course, and I'll say, we're prosecuting cases from every law enforcement agency that makes a case here in the county. So, I mean, it could be city, it could be DNR, GBI, Sheriff's Office.
That's true in all three counties.
Yeah, that's true in all three counties.
Well, I know that you talked about an additional admin and 5% across the board. But
And I'll say, I only asked for 5% on the spacer employees, not anybody classified as a county.
Right, okay. I'm still having some trouble though with equating all that on the salaries and wages, I'm sorry, the reimbursable salary and wages line from 290 to essentially
$90,000.
$9,000. But the actual so far is 98,000, or at least as of August 10th. And projected at one was 169,000, which is about 200,000 less than the requested budget. So I don't understand where this all comes from.
Doesn't add up.
That's what I was trying to, a little bit of where I was trying to see that match. Figure three kinds of employees or whatever you want to call them, however it works.
So So our original budget for 2018 being approximately $290,000.
Right, see that.
But then as of August 10th, only 98.9 had been expended of that. And projecting that through the full 12 months was 169,485.
I think
So annualize it.
I think where the difficulty is coming into play, particularly with that as of August 10, 2018 and projected out, PAC goes ahead and pays the station employees, obviously, when that pay cycle comes through.
It's a timing issue.
It's a timing issue because what's happening is that PAC sends us the invoice, then we break the invoice down per county. So I can speak as to, I know this morning that my chief of staff, Ron Stanford, was preparing an invoice to send out to the county. So I truly think that there is a lag in terms of it's not an accurate time scale, because what I had done and where my numbers came from on Exhibit C is I took each county's spacer invoices and I multiplied that out on an annual basis and on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I see that and I understand it, but if you look at over a bit to the 2017, the budget was 2014, but the actual for 2017, not projected, but the actual was 188.9 total, which is still a couple of $100,000 less than what we're talking about here.
Can I throw something in?
Yeah.
If you take if you're looking at the 2018 numbers in that 12-month estimated column, if you take the reimbursable salary, if you take all of those reimbursable lines and add them together, that's the number, that's what that 389,000 represents. So if you add the 169,485 and the on down the 10,101.17, and then on down to the 23,62.54 and the 37,607.69, you get about $209,000.
That's the extra.
Okay, so are we saying though that for 2017, those same figures
If you add
are
all of
not
those,
included?
if you add
Doesn't look like it.
if you add those same figures on 2017, then you should get somewhere closer to that.
Well,
Well-
you didn't do that with,
Okay,
17 and 188,841, does
you
that
didn't
include
do,
those?
yeah, I was gonna say, you didn't do that in 2017. You didn't
Let me do-
include them,
let me add a couple things.
but you did include them in 2018.
Okay, and on the 2017 budget, the total that they requested was $201,400.
Right.
That was their original budget.
Yeah.
If you add on the actual 2017 column, if you add the 188,841 and the, on down the 11,342.04, and then the 26,53.55, then you're gonna be close to that, you're gonna be closer to that 201.
And
It's just-
44.
Well, what about?
I break it down, and they give it to me in a lump sum. That 389,000, correct me if I'm wrong, Allison.
Yeah.
The 389,000 includes the salaries and wages, the Social Security and Medicare, the health insurance, everything that we reimburse PAC for is included in that 389,000.
That's correct.
How about,
And when I actually enter the budget, I will, well, I prefer to break that down just because when we do our DCA reporting, I have to break it down that way to report it to DCA.
If I take the 188,841.36, and I add 11,342.04,
Right.
26,53.55, and 44,158.96, I get 246,996, which is still about 150,000. I didn't think we were talking about $150,000 worth of
From,
For the
from,
admin and 5% those particular individuals.
no, but if you recall part of what happened last year in terms of the budget hearings and trying to break it down, particularly, I think across the board between, Cannon County and Pickens County, that there was an absorption by Gilmer County of a completely new position that Gilmer County had not historically paid for. And that was part of the budget increase from last year. Which is why when I came in to the budget hearings this year, I wanted everybody to be clear about this is what this county is paying, this is the person this county is paying for, this county is paying for, and the other county is paying for. Because you're breaking that down on the 2017 budget, and then the 2018 budget was where an entirely new position was absorbed by Gilmer County.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Are the bottom numbers here, the 470, 788, is that not, that doesn't double count some?
Okay, this is,
Because when they give me the number, they give me, like I said a minute ago, they give me a total. That includes everything, that reimbursable salary and wage line actually includes more than just salary and
It's
wage.
not apples and oranges with the other departments.
It's no,
Line.
because
Because of what's.
because it's handled differently, because that is the amount that is reimbursed to PAC,
So
which includes the health insurance and everything.
one of the other cogs to throw in here is,
Oh, that's what we need.
I'm sorry, and it's built into the budget, and to tell you the truth, it's more of a safety issue than it is anything, but my understanding through PAC, they do charge an administrative fee to handle all of these salaries. They have set forth in their documentation that their estimated administrative fee is 5%. I do not think that historically that 5% PAC handling fee has actually been incorporated in terms of the budget requests. I did include it in terms of this budget request, which you can see on Exhibit C, which accounts for
18,000 something.
about 18.5.
Okay, understand.
And I will tell you candidly, it's when, from what I have historically seen from the invoices that we receive from PAC, I can't tell you that they always charge it. I have struggled in terms of trying to find the logic of the percentage they come up with. I just wanted to ensure that it was in the budget if they in fact exercise it.
here's where I'm still having a problem though. If I take 189, 45, 84, which is 12 months estimated, without these other things.
160.
I'm sorry, 169, 45, 84. And I add to that 10, 101, 17, 23, 62, 54, and 37, 607, 69.
And I'm gonna throw another cog, add in the insurance too, that group insurance, the 51,000. It doesn't say reimbursable, but
There's
we
no
do,
way you can figure this out.
we do reimburse
And
group
so you can't do
insurance.
it.
We do reimburse the group insurance to PAC as well.
All right, well, I'll address that in a minute and look again, but let me tell you, without the 61,000, I get 219,000 in some figures when I add those together, which is quite a bit less than 389. When I add 5% to that, I get 230, 535, which
Still
is
not even
still
close.
way off from 389. And I know there's another admin position in there, and 5% for a few folks, but we're talking $150,000 off.
Well, but I also think the number that you're basing that on is not an accurate 12-month estimated, because the actual as of August 10, 2018 is not an actual on the spatial reimbursement of that day.
Because of that.
Because we're paying, you're
Delay because of the
You're
delay.
playing the delay from PAC sending us the invoices and then us remitting those invoices to you.
Okay.
So that you're not working with an actual true estimated 12 months.
So how do, okay, I give that, I give you that. How do we get from 290 budgeted this year to 389 next year? Considering all those.
The only additional requests that were made from what has already been in the original budget in that Gilmer County is currently paying is an additional requested administrative position at an estimated cost of $40,000. A 5% increase.
40, I would agree.
The 5% increase on the spacer positions, not including, of course, the new requested admin position, and then the 5%.
And that's 15,000.
Right,
And the PAC fee,
Which
another
is-
18,500.
correct.
If I had those three up, I got 65, 75, 83,000.
Remember, we're at 40, 15, and 18?
Yeah,
I'm getting 68,000, just in my head, but
No,
and 70 something.
78.
78.
Did you say 40,000 for the admin person?
40,000 estimated, no,
15,000 for the 5%?
No,
15,700.
73.
Okay. And then 18 for the,
18,500,
for the
yeah,
admin,
yeah.
or for the fee?
No, you-
For the fee,
For the admin.
which if, obviously, if they don't charge it, that wouldn't be money to use.
Right. So, that gives me,
I couldn't argue.
that gives me 70-some thousand out
73,000.
of 90,000. So there's another 20,000 somewhere, but that's, I don't know what it is.
But if you also look, in terms of what Sandy was saying, on the requested budget, in 2018, you've got a 12-month estimated on group insurance of that 51,000 approximate number. Was that a breakdown on the spacer employees? As we haven't included that in our budget request.
That is what, based on what's in our accounting software, that 29,000 is what we have reimbursed PAC for the health insurance. Because when that check is written to PAC, Lou Jean breaks it down. She breaks it down, salaries, insurance, you know, so on and so forth. So that group insurance number is what we have reimbursed PAC.
So yeah, the 389 number includes everything.
Yeah, if you include group insurance, that probably comes close.
I understand, I just get nervous when I can't add.
I know, I'm trying to balance it in my mind too.
So I am, and I'm sure that we can pull the invoices that we have submitted to you over 2018, and that would corroborate what's on Exhibit C.
We can pull those from here, can
I mean, I can tell you definitively, the only additional thing that we are asking for is the additional admin position, the 5% plus the 5%.
It doesn't matter which pocket's got what we combined and what we didn't combine. Sandy, you can figure that out, I can't, right?
Well, Sandy, let me ask you this. I have, and for lack of a better word, an arrangement to meet with Rob and Sam in a couple of weeks here. And we'll be reviewing all of the budgets that are all three counties. Do you think that we can pull those invoices or whatever we need to do so that before I meet with those two folks, I can have a better idea of what I'm looking at here for
Okay.
Gilmer?
question that occurred to me, that Gilmer County absorbed 100% of a new employee 2018, correct?
That was my understanding, I believe, in
Right.
terms of, yes.
Did that happen on January 1, or was that partway into the year before that
That
was
would be-
initiated?
January 1, from what I recall.
No, that shouldn't affect that number.
No, that shouldn't.
I just want to, before I meet with Robert Steen, to be able to
Good luck.
say something, you know, with
Right.
some
I agree.
confidence, you know.
Is it, are these comparable
Well, maybe they'll have some.
things that go with the other two counties?
It is, and I will
Increases?
tell you, I did the exact same packet and breakdown
That's
for,
what I
for each one of the counties. So each one of the county commissioners would have one of those. I will tell you that I made the same request for the additional admin position in Fannin County because we had had an increase there of slightly over 28%, almost 29% in open cases over the past year in Fannin. Then I made the request for the 5% for the spacers in Pickens and Fannin as well.
My only concern is I don't want to get into that and look like I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'll get you all the numbers you need.
No, and I will tell you, in fact, if you would like copies of the breakdowns for Fannin and for Pickens, I'm happy to provide you copies of those as well, so you can have comparative budgets in terms of what was requested across the board.
If I've got the breakdowns for Gilmer, they'll have it, they'll have their own, right?
Yeah, I prepared an individual packet for each county.
I just don't want to walk out of that meeting with them shaking their heads saying Catherine and Gilmer County. and know what I'm talking about.
They actually break, those pack invoices are broken down pretty,
Some level
yeah,
of detail.
yeah. They are, I can get numbers for you, that won't be a problem.
So the bottom line, if I look here, we're talking about a 25% increase
No wrong budget.
from 2018 to 2019. I can't do the math in my head, but it's about $80,000.
No, I would agree on the original approved budget for 2018, which would be,
390.
you're gonna be 390 minus 470, which is gonna put you right at 80. But of that,
20% plus
20.
20.5%. That's hard to swallow.
The point I think I'll make, I made it to Stacy for the sheriff, and I should have made it to Tony, which I didn't. But I told Stacy, when I add public safety cost to the county taxpayers and the judicial, all the judges, you, the defender, all of the judicial costs, that number for every year I went back grows as a percentage of our budget. Every year, we are, if you add those together, we're up over 50% of our budget goes to those three, those two really, public safety, judicial categories. It's unsustainable, and it's not your fault, but we can't absorb 20% or whatever it is every year. Our budget will never, we can't sustain this. And I don't have an answer to that, but somehow.
You know, it's funny you should mention that, Dallas, because the class that I was wanting to take so badly is sustainable budgeting.
It's starting to worry me. That word is, we are getting to the point where we can't, and the citizens can't afford it. I don't have an answer, and I'm not asking you for an answer at all, I don't mean that. But as that's the biggest part of our budget, it's the most important part of our budget, but if we don't find a way to control that, we can't survive. Literally, we can't sustain this level of spending in general, and I know that you gotta get to the details. So I don't know if you have a theory or a way of thinking outside the box to hold everybody's spending less than than it was, or equal to what it was, percentage-wise, not hard number. We're not sustain, we can't sustain this very much longer. So,
Well, and I'll
that's my comment, and I apologize for just being.
No, and it's totally fair, and I mean, I understand truthfully where you're coming from. I don't have a good answer. The problem that we're faced with from a very practical standpoint, we had a 20% increase
I
just
saw that, I know that.
just in this last year over
I know that.
over the amount of cases that we're having, and the problem truly is, and the reason that I'm bringing up even counterparts in the public defender's office, it's not sustainable for our office to effectively do what it is that we are expected to do.
I agree.
And that is part of really kind of is creating an issue. And I'll tell you, I actually just added up the numbers on the difference between the approved original budget for 2018 to the request for 2019. If you add the estimated additional admin position of 40,000, you add the 5% requested increase for the employees at 15,700. The PAC estimated fee at 18.5, that brings you to 74,200.
Okay.
The additional approximate 5,000 is based, if you look on line item for the DA office expense. We were originally approved for 30,000. To date actual, we have spent 26,000. So there was a $5,000 increase. And part of what I did put out in my letter in terms of that DA office expense, that does not go to paper and pens. That goes for bar fees, it goes for continuing legal education, it goes for car repairs, anything in terms of operating the office. We actually had to purchase televisions and electronic equipment this year to take into the courtrooms, so we had something to display on. So that explains the entire increase.
Can I take a side issue here, or jump, chase one rabbit? Courtroom, you mentioned courtroom and your displays or your stuff.
Oh yeah, would y'all please fix that? That would be so great.
I want to hear about that. We've talked to other people. We have known of a need to fix the audio-visual stuff in the courtrooms. Can you give us your view of what needs to be done?
I'll tell you, across the board, it's a circuit-wide issue. We deal with this in Fanning, Gilmer, and Pickens. Fanning County is obviously our oldest courthouse, and really, I think that was 2004 when that courthouse was built. I think a lot of the equipment was kind of outdated when that was put in. Gilmer County, and when you come in, and I will say, this is a beautiful courthouse. I mean, it is phenomenal in terms of the structure itself.
10 years
It's
old.
going to be wonderful in 2032. Paid for it.
The evidence presentation systems are almost non-existent. I mean, it is literally hold your breath and hope it works. And it had gotten so difficult actually last week when we were doing aggravated child molestation trial. My office went and picked up my Pickens County TV and the DA's office Fanning County TV to bring all 3 TVs just into the Gilmer County courtroom. So you had a TV for the judge to look at, for the counsel tables to look at, and for the jury to look at. One of the things that they had actually been looking at in Fanning County in terms of the structure there was getting it wired for a very large 72-inch TV that would just be permanently mounted on the wall that we could feed into the evidence system. And then we could just have that one large TV for everybody to look at, which seems to be, from the numbers that I have been given, to be pretty cost effective. I know in terms of conversations in Pickens County, they may have even been potentially reaching out to the school system to see some of the systems that the school had put in, and they were going to try to overhaul and just put a new system in totally. And this is just my opinion, but when you have citizens who very rarely come into the courthouse, but they know that it is a very nice, expensive structure, and their limited and only experience coming in is they're seeing we're having to drag TVs in and not use the evidence presentation system. It's just kind of a shame.
Is it a better situation than Pickens and, I mean, do they have 3 TVs?
When I take the other 2 to that county.
Well, I mean, it's the same situation though.
It's the same
It's
situation
not that
that,
they have 3 and we have 1.
no, everybody has 1 because I bought 1 for each one of the offices. Frankly, it would be nice if I could buy another one so we weren't having to bring pickup trucks to haul them. I will say in Fannin County this last year when I did an armed robbery trial there, the rent-to-own place took pity on us, and they actually delivered TVs and loaned them to us for the trial.
Well,
So,
it's on our radar.
I mean, I'll say honestly, it
That's
would
all
be
I can
great.
say. It
would
is
be
on our
great.
radar, and I wanted to ask that question.
Yeah, it is an issue.
Do you have any capital requirements that we haven't discussed?
No, sir. No, really, truly, and I say this, I'm asking, we need some help, we need some more money. Particularly for all the courts that we're prosecuting them. Because I know y'all are having to come out of pocket to pay for somebody to defend in probate, y'all are having to come out of pocket to pay for somebody to defend in juvenile, and we're absorbing that into our office along with our regular caseload.
Can I ask you another question? I don't know if it's relevant to you. Do you deal with probation process in department or areas at all? And do you have an opinion of anything that should be done to deal with any problems there you see? That's a terrible question to ask.
No, and I think I understand where you're coming from, because what I get tremendously frustrated about and what I do is I feel like the state gives us a lot of unfunded mandates all of the time.
No way. No way.
So,
No comment.
you're clearly the only politician. Well, and she hasn't said a word, so. So ultimately, what has kind of happened over the last couple of years is, you know, the court systems came down and said when you have people who are indigent and they can't pay fines, you can't put them in jail for not paying fines. When they can't pay probation fees, then you can't put them in jail for not paying probation fees. The problem
They can't
is,
even pay their fines.
these people are on probation, and whereas probation at least used, and I'm saying misdemeanor probation, not state probation, whereas misdemeanor probation used to be somewhat self-sustaining, at least to a degree in the past. At this point in time, and I will say their hands are tied. I mean, the people have the people have to be on probation.
You don't know how to work it.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't take long to play it for what it's worth.
I find it tremendously frustrating when they come in with a public defender, declare that they're indigent, and they are wearing 10 times more jewelry than me and have a nicer telephone. I mean, it's the nature of the beast, I guess.
Yeah.
But
But simply that declaration is all that's needed, really, or is there documentation, or?
they go in and they fill out an application that would be essentially under oath for all of the information that's contained therein, setting out their income and their property and things along those lines, and if they statutorily meet the indigency qualification, they get a public defender. Whether it's one that's funded by the county or conflict defender funded by the state.
And they're not going to be held to any fines or anything like that?
We assess the fines, but then if they come in and they say, I'm indigent and I have an inability to pay, then the higher courts in the state of Georgia have said you can't put them in jail.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it.
Well, I find it personally as a tax-paying citizen a little bit frustrating if I were to go in and I were to be assessed a fine, that I would have to pay it because I have a job.
But you know, productive people are penalized in America.
Feels that way sometimes. So, no, and I understood, I kind of understood where your question was coming from, I don't have a good answer.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, neither do we.
No. Thank you so much.
You bet. Anything else I can give y'all?
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate
y'all.
Appreciate all the documentation you did on this.
Yes.
Even labeling.
More than overwhelming.
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, thanks a lot.
All that complexity, and no way you can get a
I'm
hand.
glad we didn't start there.
It
Yeah, I know, we would like.
just makes your head
Holy.
spin, doesn't it? It just makes your head.
That was just a FYI.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll take this home since we won't be here tomorrow.
Right, now, I think I've got everything in there. I'm gonna try to update the health insurance numbers and, get the capital spreadsheet going.
So you